Hi everyone, it's Linda G and our good friend here.
Hi,
I'm
everyone.
Andre, Astrology Alerts, sorry, makeup. And we're going to talk a little bit about Pluto, and he's got a little input on Bannon, which Mel and I were talking about this morning. And did you say Lindsey Graham too?
Lindsey Graham, Bannon. There's also some interesting insight on Cipollone and his
Ooh,
role in the
ooh.
situation. Yeah,
Pray
yeah.
tell, pray tell.
I know. So okay. So first, on Pluto, the reason people often bring up Pluto is because they hear somewhere or they know that the U.S. is on the Pluto return, and that is one of the key reasons the U.S. is in such turmoil, especially from the perspective of fear about a potential authoritarian takeover. That's what Pluto is. Pluto is basically the fascist of the zodiac, and one of the ways you know this is that when it was discovered in 1930, that whole period was the rise of fascism until it was finally stamped out, right? But it got stamped out when it changed signs from Cancer to Leo because the Cancer Capricorn axis is where this kind of thing can happen. And Pluto's been in Capricorn since 2008, so it's been rising, rising, rising. And now it's going to switch to Aquarius in a couple of years, pretty much fully. And that's the end of it. It's not the beginning of it. You know, people have to realize that it's what we have to go through to deal with this problem, right?
Okay.
And if you look at world conditions, you're already seeing that, this kind of behavior like Boris Johnson, runs into a brick wall. He's kind of a Trumpy character who comes in and does the same thing as Trump, lies through his teeth, wants to centralize power. He got bounced. Trump got bounced too. I mean, for all the recrimination about Trump, he got bounced and he's way behind the eight ball now. And then look at Bolsonaro. He's losing in the polls
I heard, yeah.
to Lula, and he's already saying, same as Trump, we're going to have to cheat, figure out a way, to turn this thing around. But basically, or Putin's another example,
Yes.
major
What
mistake,
about
right?
Putin?
So all these figures, they're kind of on their back heel. They're being pushed back, and this is though the Pluto struggle because it is scary. I mean, who doesn't worry about all kinds of things, like whether it's the Supreme Court coming in and acting like patriarchs and pushing back like that and removing rights, or threatening to make the states, that this latest thing where they're going to take the case and, maybe allow the states to overturn elections. Now, this doesn't mean it's going to happen, but it means it's going to scare you. And part of the thing with Pluto is that it's a little bit scary. That's one of the ways it teaches you. It puts you through a uncertainty and fear, and then you find your will. And when you find it, right, then you move forward. And I brought up the fact that in your chart, you happen to have a Pluto that is like that, so that the way it works for you is when you discover that inner strength and you start to act on it, things really begin to work for you. But, people have to realize that's something you actually do. It's not something that just happens to you. It's a force that's within you, and then you have to nurture it and keep acting on it and so forth, right?
Right.
But now, having said all that, right, if you are a public figure, and you are doing illegal things and Pluto is visiting you, then it's another matter because then it's more dangerous. And that's what's happening to Trump. Trump is under massive Pluto oppositions, which means he's being hunted down, which is what you're
Yeah.
seeing, right? And the other one is Lindsey Graham because he's got a planet leading Cancer, which means Pluto opposes it, which means at minimum for the next year or so, he's extremely uncomfortable. I don't know whether he's going to be taken down. I don't know his time, for one thing. All I know is his day. But it's very uncomfortable, the situation he's in. And rightly so. He was calling Georgia and doing the same thing as
No right to
Trump.
do that. Now he's going to fight having to testify.
Well, he can fight. But, the thing with these fights is that once the law kind of starts moving in on you, I mean, go and tell John Eastman to fight. Sure. They found him on the middle of the street, took his phone. That's what happens. That's what
Yeah.
happens.
And somebody else, Jeff Clark, I think they went on him and
Yeah,
really
yeah, same thing, same thing. I mean, these are the people that think they're invincible.
right
Everyone is invincible until
until
things.
Pluto gets a hold of you.
Well, Pluto or Saturn, those two are notorious. But yeah,
So
Pluto.
apparently, the judge just announced that no, he's telling Bannon, no, I'm not giving you a break. You still come to trial.
Yeah, no, and Bannon. The thing with Bannon is his time is a little uncertain. There's one floating around though that someone found somewhere, which looks to be pretty good because his appearance reminds me of Leo rising, which is what that time is. So uh, if he's born around that time or like within a swath of time, he's got problems going all the way through next year, which is what you would expect, right? Because it's kind of like the Trump syndrome. People keep saying, well, why isn't Trump already in a lot of trouble? You don't have to worry, because if Trump escapes trouble this year, the next 2 years are even worse, because then Saturn joins the fray, right? And starts squaring. Saturn is notorious for making you pay. This is
I
where
know.
I've mentioned a number of times that one of the ways I've learned astrology is watching crime shows and looking for dates and times. And I notice all these criminals, it's when Saturn, that's when the police knocks on the door and says, hey, we have your DNA.
Yeah, yeah.
Right? So Bannon has been skating through, but he's got an early mutable sun and probably moon, and Saturn is going to hammer that next year. So he's got problems, right? To
So
face
what
it.
do you think? What's that whole bit about Trump saying he's dropping executive privilege? He never had executive
He
privilege.
never had executive privilege. Trump
But is this a little play that him and Bannon were doing to try to change
Well,
the date on that trial?
yeah, because Bannon now, Bannon spends his time on that podcast, doing the Macho Man routine. But at a certain point, your trial date comes up, and then you gotta talk. And then he could be fined like 6 figures. He could go to prison. It's serious stuff. I mean,
And he tends to get hit. If Trump hadn't given him a pardon, he'd be still sitting in jail.
yeah, no, but for the thing that he did, which by the
All
way,
his cohorts are in jail. All the other guys that stole.
yeah. I mean, the
the
thing is
border
that
wall.
this is the hardest part to, I think, get across is how slow the justice system is. People are always complaining, why isn't so and so already in prison? Because that's how it is. Just look at all sorts of other people that takes forever. Like the guy from the that blood scandal. Only now, 7 years
Yes,
later,
yes.
now they pay. You know why? Because they have money and they can pay lawyers, and
And
lawyers
they
delay.
put it off and put it off.
Yeah, and by the way, Trump. This is Trump's game. Trump will take everything to the Supreme Court if he has to before he gives in, right? So if you expect him to, no matter what they do, charge him whatever, all of that will go through a slow process, right?
Yeah,
But
and also, what's interesting is how the Supreme Court did this with the abortion, but they never gave him a break. They always pushed him away when he said he wanted the Supreme Court to do something with the voting. They said no.
yeah, exactly. No,
I don't want to have to turn this paperwork in. They said no.
yeah, no, and I mean it's really quite remarkable when you think that this would go to the Pluto return. When you think that the country is dealing with this man is essentially like an evil clown. He really is. He's a total clown. If you listen to him he reasons like a 12-year-old. Like his idea is, well, because I say so, it's true. Well, yeah, but not
Yeah.
really. Okay.
Oh,
I'm
he was
sorry.
telling everybody yesterday in Vegas, oh, yes, we're going to put our country together again. And what were you doing the 4 years you were there? And unlike the Democrats who are murderers, like what? Who just killed all those poor people in Chicago? It
Yeah,
was a Trumpster.
it was a Trumpster. Yeah, no. Well, this is the thing, though. I mean, the level of gaslighting during this period is really elevated, and the only thing I can say is, from the cycle's perspective, is it's going to be switching. Two of those big planets, as we go to the next election, they change signs. That's always a change in direction. And
Okay.
I don't care what these Trumpers say. I don't think the cycles line up for them. They just don't. It makes no sense to me. So good luck with that, with that strategy that they have. But I don't see it doing very well at all. Because stuff comes out, people get
Right.
charged.
Right.
So it's tough. It's tough.
So
for
that's
them.
interesting on the Pluto thing. So Lindsey Graham, did you check where his Pluto was?
Yeah, Lindsey Graham has a major Pluto opposition, and when you have to think that Pluto is a slow mover. So when it opposes a planet, it does it for about 2 years, but then it might disappear into the background for another 10 years, and you won't see it again. So they're rare instances, and it just so happens that the way he's carried on, this thing coalesced now, because he did this, almost 2 years ago, right? A year and a
Right.
half ago.
Called Georgia. Yeah.
And yet it took all this time, for the planet to move in closer. And it has to do with this very thing where he jumps in and does something completely illegal that he shouldn't have done, and now he's getting a lot of questions.
Yeah, but now he's going to fight it.
Yeah, he can fight it. He can fight it, and maybe he'll, possibly he'll get away with something. But whether he fights it or not, he's looking at least a year of discomfort, really serious discomfort. Right?
Yeah, and he's still golfing with what's his face.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's that there's a story on
It's so
him.
weird. He's the one that says, if we vote. Oh, it's breaking news. I guess Cipollone gave major information.
Yeah,
Gave
Cipollone.
critical testimony on nearly every major topic in the investigation.
Yeah, well, Cipollone, by the way, this interesting thing about Cipollone is that even though this is what's curious, right? That he is, I believe, about 30 years older than Cassidy, right? He's got because they both have the same. Their Saturn is in the same region.
Oh, okay.
And the thing about that Saturn is that I see this all the time. It can make you an ally of someone for a purpose, for a period, but it's always lurking there in a way, signaling danger, because it's kind of saying if things go wrong, that person becomes someone who rebukes you and goes against you, which is what Cassidy did and what he's doing. And both those planets in their respective charts, even though they're 30 years apart, are getting triggered right now. And that place is against Trump. It's the part of Trump's chart that Trump most dislikes. So they're people that were once allies who became enemies. Although I think both of them with Trump were just kind of going along. I don't think they ever liked Trump, because when you put Saturn there, there's already like a kind of, why is this person
resistance? Yeah.
So Cassidy, I think, was probably wondering, wow, this guy, I can't believe the way he does things. But she went along until it got to be too much. Same with Cipollone, because he was the White House lawyer, but he kept telling them, you can't
do this. And her testimony about him was actually very good, because it showed he kept trying to do the right thing. He's saying, and he said, if he gets to the Capitol, we're going to get charges, every kind of charge there is. He cannot go to the Capitol.
Right. Which, by the way, I think Trump was,
he wanted to go.
Trump was lucky that he didn't go. It would have been harder for him if he had gone, but it would have been easier for the country, because
you know what? Honest to God, Andre, I was just talking about that. I said, had he gone in the Capitol, and the bigwigs would have thought, let's shoot this guy, let's shoot that guy. For Trump, it would have been so awful. The army would have come in, because they would have taken
right.
And it would have been over for Trump.
That's right. But so in a way, it was unlucky that I wish that those, it would have been horrible though, because they might have murdered somebody.
They probably would have killed Pence
or Pelosi, or, but can you imagine this guy, like the vision that he had, he either thought, I'll do a speech outside, or was he going to walk right into the chamber?
He was going to go with them. He was mad.
Well,
and he told him to take down the x-ray machines or whatever.
Yeah.
Because, they got guns, but they're not going to hurt me, he said.
Well, I know that I keep hearing that prosecuting an ex-president is not a great idea, but not prosecuting.
What are they going to do? He wasn't even a president legally.
Yeah, well, he was over. Yeah, he was still the president, but it was over. Yeah, because he had lost.
Yeah, he was a Putin put in. They're going to find that out. Mueller was already talking about it.
Yeah, well, I'm with your assessment that you don't see him going to prison, but you see him getting slammed legally. And as far as I'm concerned, as long as you defang this guy, and establish some precedent that says you can't break the law like this. That's not
no. And Merrick Garland, he really had trouble when he first came in to get rid of the Trump riffraff. There was a lot of people in there trying to work against Merrick Garland. They were upset. There was they were talking on certain New York Times and stuff that there was a lot of federal agents that were Trumpsters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no,
I
don't
want him to leave. Yeah. So for Merrick Garland, and then they were no Kane assistants. He needed more people. He needed to filter out. So a lot of work was done with that. And now he's getting down to the basics. But I heard they were mad at the January 6th committee for not giving him the transcripts on some stuff. But it'll all come out in the wash.
I think it'll shake out. A lot of that is just a period where they're holding on to their stuff because they have a certain plan or whatever. But I don't think that's going to matter that much.
So we're doing some major damage to Russia, but I like the fact that President Biden told all these generals, quit talking about our strategic. I couldn't believe they'd be on TVs talking about strategy. Quit,
Yeah.
knock it off, he said, because Putin was listening to every word.
Right.
And if you'll notice, they're not talking about it. You'll hear a little something, maybe they gave him, but apparently they gave him some rockets or something that are doing major damage. Took out a
Exactly.
whole bunch of Russians and generals. And yeah, and they're retaliating. They're hitting buildings again, apartments. But I kept feeling, and I don't know what you've seen on Putin, but I feel like he's getting ready to go. Was it you who said they're talking about his daughter taking over? Somebody said they were talking about his daughter taking over.
No.
Which
no.
won't happen. She'll get in there and think she's taking over, and then they run all over her.
I think with Putin, it's really maladjusted the way his chart is, and there are all kinds of health threats in that chart. So usually when people are in a unhealthy state and they're going to be all stressed out and paranoid, things just don't work well. They make decisions that are mistaken. There's no sense of guidance of things being correct, and so then you just make more errors. I mean, case in point, the whole thing was an error because now you're going to have Finland and Sweden part of NATO, and I wouldn't be surprised if eventually Ukraine is part of NATO too. They eventually take that. Yeah. So then I mean, what did he accomplish?
Right.
But this is the thing too, by the way, that when you're reading people or listening to people, you got to find your own way of thinking and be clear about your own thinking, because I've sometimes listened to a person and thought, yeah, that's pretty good. And then they say something that I think, no, that's completely wrong. This Chomsky.
Yeah, you got to trust your own instinct.
This Noah Chomsky, this philosopher that's been around, he's a far left type of person, but he's very cerebral, this and that. And he said a few interesting things when Trump got elected. He even said Hillary would have been much better, even though he doesn't like either. But now he's saying that the U.S. provoked Russia, right, into this. And you think to yourself, well, like, how did we provoke Russia, or how did the Ukraine? You mean like I provoke you if otherwise you would attack me? How does that logic work? That someone can just come in and start blowing things up.
Well, I honestly think Putin thought that Trump would win a second term.
Putin was wrong.
And Putin also wanted him to make NATO as weak as he could.
Oh no, that would have been perfect. If
Yeah.
Putin had won a second term, he would own by now Ukraine. It'd be his, and then NATO wouldn't be together. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But
Oh,
that also tells you that the cycles are shifting in a different direction, because if the cycles were moving toward more fascism and more of that, then maybe someone like Trump would have won, right? Or maybe Biden would not have been interested in NATO or something like that. But as it is, the democracies coalesced and came together. So that's a statement to the new order that is coming in.
And also that Trumpster woman, was she running in Canada or France? She was running.
Oh
in
yes,
France.
Le Pen,
She
another
lost.
example. Yeah,
She lost.
Yeah.
But my feeling, and I've said this out loud, is that all of a sudden I see the Ukrainians pointing and saying, what happened to the Russians? Like all of a sudden they'll just start leaving, but nothing is said. No announcement is made. All of a sudden they start exiting.
Well, wouldn't that be nice?
So I think what happens is Putin dies.
Really?
And I think things are and they're just saying, send them back right now. They're not saying you won. It's just all of a sudden I see them exiting. That's my vision. That's what I see.
Well, I mean, I heard today that they're running out of soldiers and they're doing a lot of throwing money at them to join the army. But the problem with that is, I mean, how much money do you need to go to your death? I mean, they probably know that a lot of people are dying. Why would they be bringing in new people? So I guess it depends how.
Also, their money isn't worth much. It's not worth as much as it used to.
That's true. Yeah. We'll give you rubles, and the person should say, no, I think I want dollars.
And then they go into Ukraine and steal everything that's not tied down.
Yeah. No, it's horrible though. I mean, this whole thing. Every time you see an apartment building being blown up, and it's easy
It's
to
so sad.
you realize that it's people living in there, and that. Can you imagine having missiles thrown at where you live?
Oh, it's just terrible.
It's horrible.
But did you take a look at Boris? Is he kind of going straight downhill?
Yeah, Boris, I did a video on. He actually, you know who has got a similar situation is Kevin McCarthy and Boris Johnson because they have their Saturn return in around the same place. So that doesn't bode well for McCarthy in the cycle that
No.
he's in, because in a way they're kind of the same. They're very shallow. You know, everything is appearance, characters. Like apparently McCarthy, when he was asked by this reporter repeatedly, like, why are you always, sucking up to Trump? And he said, well, because it works for me. It gives me access to Trump, and I can call him anytime I want, and he always answers. In other words, it's like a teenager, the way they would reason about something, that is a high-level government position where you should be showing responsibility. So moving into a Saturn return, not good. And so I thought Boris might have lasted a little longer. That was my thought. But I don't think. Yeah, I think he's toast
Done
because.
deal.
Yeah, I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, he was trying to get people to slow down, and he would do recommendations, and they won't listen to him.
No, I think it's gone too far. And it's interesting that the key planet right now that is broken him is the planet that catches you for lying, which is what these the MPs were saying. It's just one too many lies, because the latest one was that he didn't reveal that he knew the person was a molester, some crazy thing that he should have said. So then they said, okay, that's it. So it was the final lie that broke the camel's back.
He can't
And-
help it. He's like Trump. He just lies while breathing.
Yeah, and Trump is the same. Trump is in the same aspect, a different part of his chart, but he's in the same aspect, and so that's the same thing that's happening to Trump, because they're showing all his lies, basically, right? They just keep
So
telling.
Mark Meadows,
Yeah, he's got problems.
I don't hear anything from him.
No, but he's got a problematic chart for a good long while.
He
Like,
does?
Oh yeah, this is not ending anytime soon.
Because he was right next to Trump. He
Yeah.
wasn't saying, no, sir, don't do it. He was just ad-libbing, yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, and I mean, it's amazing how these people. It keeps happening every time. Years will pass, and it's like right now you see this, and in 30 years you'll see another batch do the same thing again. Like they forgot Watergate, for example. What happened in Watergate? Nixon didn't go to prison, but everyone around them went to prison, right? And you should be thinking, I'm helping a criminal. If I keep
Yeah.
doing this, they're going to put me in the slammer. And how is Meadows going to get out of it? He was actually actively trying to help the
He
insurrection.
was in the middle of it. People ask me left and right, is Biden going to, what do you call when you say somebody's guilty? What did they do with Nixon?
Oh,
What? Is Biden going to pardon Trump? I said, absolutely not.
no. Oh, you mean like yeah, what would he pardon him for? No.
Well, if Trump is in trouble and gets a
Oh.
jail sentence, would he pardon him? I said, absolutely not.
No, I find that.
Now Pence might have done it,
Yeah, Pence might have, but Pence
but
isn't.
not Biden, because he knows he needs to fill his just desserts.
Yeah, I don't think Biden will do anything other than just do his own thing and let the Justice Department.
Handle. But can I tell you something? I really get a strong feeling that Trump is furious at McCarthy,
Yeah, but why is he furious at McCarthy?
because McCarthy threw such a fit, and we're not going to belong to your January 6th commission, your witch hunt. But because
Yes.
of that, he wasn't able to put, they were going to take Jim Jordan because he was part of the insurrection. But there was other guys that could have got in there and tied this up. But McCarthy threw it out with,
Right.
with the baby out with the bath. And I think this is what I was feeling, that I see him beat red and just, you should have put somebody in there.
Well, yes, except that Trump didn't want anyone. Trump wanted them to not approve the commission back then, and now he wants it both ways. So you know what I mean? Trump is basically that way. I remember back then, and the stuff I was reading was that he didn't want, any agreement with Democrats on anything. So McCarthy thought that by saying, I'm not going to do it unless you let me put in my lapdogs, Trump will like that. Now he realizes, big mistake, because...
But he's blaming McCarthy, and he's
Yeah, sure. But I mean, is that anything new? Trump used to say, Bill Barr, great. No, Bill Barr he's stupid. He doesn't know anything.
Oh
He's
yeah,
a terrible...
everybody's an idiot.
Yeah, anybody
Yeah.
that doesn't do what he says becomes, becomes a has-been.
Are
and
you
stupid.
looking at his sons, Eric and Donald at all? How are they doing?
Yeah, they're under stress too. They've got problems, and during this period, I don't know how far beyond it'll extend though. Like it could go into next year, but definitely right now, yes. Eric and no, Ivanka too. Actually, Ivanka's lasts the longest. Her problems, which is a little bit strange to think because Ivanka, she seems to be the least crazy or the most, circumspect, but her chart it extends for years, with all kinds of problems.
Yes, she's the sport. What
Scorpio.
about not Melania? Did you look at her?
Melania, I had done a thing on her speculating about divorce. I don't know. I think that she's too caught up in the money. I don't think she'll ever do it.
Yeah, and also he made some threats to her. That whole genius visa was a big farce. He might even threaten that I'll turn you in or get rid of your visa or something.
Yeah, I mean, usually when you cut these bargains with a gangster, you have to expect that they're gonna have
But
something.
but the people in New York, she went to go shopping and everybody was booing her. I mean,
Oh no,
they
they've
just
created.
made-
I mean, the thing about this family is that they sold out to the people that they themselves hate. They want to be appreciated by the other people. Well, those people will never like you. That name is stained forever.
That's like back in the old days, back in when the United States was first being built. There was old money and there was new money, and some of these old money people had their nose up to the new money. Like Carnegie, he was the Scottish guy. He made his money working hard, and they kind of had their nose up. But he ended up doing a lot of stuff.
Yeah, no, but I mean, Trump, and the fact is, he was already. I remember in the '80s that this guy wrote an article about him. The guy that called him, he said he's a short-fingered vulgarian, because his fingers are smaller than normal or whatever, and then that's why he spent this whole time, oh, my hands really are the right size and all that. But he was called vulgar because he's a vulgar person. He doesn't really have any refined qualities, so then people that have any education or a sense of refinement don't like him, right? And that's not
Well,
gonna
I heard from an insider in New York that they say he's like a mobster. The mobster can't stand him. He's not. He's not part of us. No, not at all.
Well, yeah, I mean, to
He's
be
a
a real
putz.
mobster, yeah, he's kind of like he's a wannabe mobster, yeah, but he behaves like a mobster because he does things like he'll say, that person ratted me out, they're a rat, that's typical.
Yeah, and also,
mobster
but the
stuff.
thing is, he makes deals that he doesn't finish.
No. I don't know why anybody, I mean, this guy, Rick Wilson, is totally right. Everything this guy touches dies, and people keep going for it. What has he ever done? He just destroys things. How do you bankrupt multiple casinos? How's that even possible?
Yeah,
He managed that. And everything else. Okay, he's such a winner. He really lost both elections because he won one, but he snuck in there, with like a perfect inside straight. He got the Midwestern states and all that, but he lost the second one. He lost him the Senate. That was him. By the
that
way,
was
that's
him.
out now. Discovery Plus has that video from the British guy.
Yeah, I think Mike. When does it start?
They started. They posted it last night, but I saw it, and there isn't much new in there. Everything that's in there we've already seen, and he doesn't
Do
really.
you know the name of it? I thought I put it on.
It's called Unprecedented.
Okay, thanks. But you weren't like.
Nah, I mean, I saw a few. The part that is hardest is that he was filming the family, and you have to endure listening to Ivanka talking a lot, and you have to listen to Don Jr. and talking about how great their father is. I mean, you just feel like vomiting. It's horrid. So I don't recommend it, in my opinion.
Right,
No,
right.
just wait for the maybe the little clips they're gonna show on the committee or whatever.
Did you ever look at Kimberly, his girlfriend, his fiance?
I did. I can't remember what I saw though, but I remember that I did a chart a while back, yeah, where I showed her screaming, when she does that.
Yeah.
thing. She goes,
But she's totally different than she was when she was a district attorney and married to Gavin Newsom out here in San Francisco.
I know. I can't figure that out. How did
She
Gavin?
was a
Newsom-
real wonderful person, and she fought for justice, and she was kind, and then she turned into this demon from hell.
Yeah, and I think there's a drug problem there with her and Dawn. I think.
That makes total sense.
have drug issues because there's a you can see when people are overamped in some way.
Yeah, well,
I
he
always
definitely,
suspect.
he almost does the ghost.
Well, and you
ghost
don't think she is? You don't think she's overamped? Holy Lord!
She is. It
I thought
reminds
that.
me, you got it, my friend, because that reminds me, I was watching Moonstruck again. Do you remember that movie,
Yes,
Moonstruck?
I remember that.
And
Yeah, yeah,
the one that played her, I love it. She says, "Do you love him, Loretta?" "Terribly, Mom." She says, "Ah, that's too bad."
yeah.
But she wanted to know why men cheat. So she kept asking everybody, "Tell me this, why do men cheat?" Oh, no. So she asked Loretta's fiance, "So tell me, why do men cheat?" He says, "I don't know. You know the story of the rib." She goes, "That's not it." He goes, "I don't know. Maybe they fear dying." She said, "That's it. That's it." And she was all excited that he said that. And just now, when you said drugs, I said, "Oh my God." And I'm a nurse, so I could tell drugs. Him, I could tell. Her, not so much.
Yeah, no, this is the thing too that when you're in a, people really underestimate when you're in any kind of drug, intoxicant, or strong medication, it can really alter your way of seeing reality. Your nervous system gets all, amped up, and you're filtering through what can be a crazy energy, and then you make decisions based on that, and they'll seem like they're the right decision, and then things don't work, and then you react to that, and you spiral out pretty badly. So
Well, Trump was on something too. What was it? Adderall or something?
I would say there's got to be something. Yeah,
He was
was
on
sped up
something. And he was making that noise, all the time.
in the nostrils. Yeah,
Yeah.
He's probably inhaling or doing he's
Yeah.
sniffing. Yeah, makes
So,
sense.
did you ever take a look, see at Gavin Newsom?
Yeah, Gavin Newsom. When I looked at his chart was remember when he had that recall. And I
Yes.
remember that I did a chart saying, it's going to be a little bit tense, but he'll get through. So that's what happened. He's got a good chart. I think he'd be a really good presidential candidate. I think for
Yeah,
a
but
future.
they're talking about him running for 2024.
Okay, that I don't know because
I didn't
2024.
feel that. I do think Biden is going to run again, but I don't think he does the whole 4 years. And then I think Kamala will take over.
Who? You mean Kamala?
Yeah, his vice president.
I thought you said Kavanaugh. That you
No,
scared me.
Kamala.
Oh no, please.
Oh
No.
God, not Kavanaugh.
Kavanaugh. Oh my God.
It's just a shame. It is so obvious. The only way the Republicans can win is to cheat.
Yeah, and then the thing is they're in this place where they're flipping everything around. So they're using that message about Democrats because I already saw 2 or 3 articles where they're saying in different states the only way Democrats can win is by cheating. That by the way, that's Trump's message. That never used to be so blatant. Now you just say it even before the election, right? They're going to beat us because they're cheating. Maybe, but I don't think that's a good plan, in my opinion, because votes get counted.
Oh, but thanks to Roe versus Wade, thanks to trying to turn over gay rights, they're messing with the wrong people. People will come out like ants
Yeah,
and vote,
no,
vote, 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 vote.
that's correct. And that's a totally separate planet, by the way. It's Eris, the Oriores. And one of the ways you know that planet is heavily active is twice a year it makes a station, and it makes one in January and one in July. So in part, that was during the insurrection month. But the July period we're in now, and that's really bad for Trump around what's happening. Like, I bet you these next 2 hearings are going to be devastating because that planet is really badly placed in his chart. And it's also through women, right? You notice that it's always, I think there's an assistant in there that is going to be interviewed that'll bring more information, who's also a woman. Didn't you see
Oh,
that?
but it's not like Hope Hicks or something like that. It's somebody else.
No, it was someone like Cassidy working in the background. But Cassidy did a tremendous amount of damage, and that's because it's
And
a
then
woman.
he's trying to act like she was just a coffee girl. And then they show pictures of her standing there on Air Force One, and she was with him all the time. And that's just like when he tried to act like, who was it? Rudy Giuliani was acting like he never saw Hillary Clinton down there in 9/11, and they show pictures of her walking with him in 9/11.
No, I mean, see, the remarkable thing is that these guys, in a way, they're like base worshippers because they know that their group, that solid, what people call the deplorables, the people that whenever they get interviewed, the first thing you think of is low IQ. That's what always crosses my mind. The person doesn't have a lot of brain power. Those people, doesn't matter what you say, doesn't matter what you do, they're going to stay with you. And
But
so
there's more of us than there are of them.
exactly. So it's a really bad plan, but they think they can continue to lie and just make up stuff and so forth. And then what starts to happen is you lose people at the edges, right? So you lose just enough percentage to lose elections because the base isn't enough. This is the thing that Mitt Romney, I don't know if you remember in 2012, he thought he was going to win because he would go to his rallies and they were all clapping for him. And I remember saying to people, I know, but there are other rallies where they're not clapping for you. And there are more people at those rallies. Or maybe they're just home and they're not going to vote. But just because you have a rally and people are clapping doesn't mean you're going to win.
This is the way to the wrong people.
This is the way in that video thing that I told you, this unprecedented thing about Trump, when they're interviewing the sons, like Eric and Ivanka, and Eric, Don Jr. and Ivanka, they keep saying, oh, we're going to win because look at these rallies. Look how much love these people have for us. And I was thinking, yeah, but do you know how many people hate you on the other side? And they don't have to be at rallies. They're just home. You know, they don't want to get COVID, right?
They see you and they turn you off.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like an inability to do math and look at polls carefully and realize who is really going to vote for us. And if more people are upset, you're going to lose. So It doesn't matter that an entire stadium is clapping for you. So, after that, you lose, right? So there's the problem.
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, my friend, I have to keep this a little bit down. I'm getting ready to go to Oklahoma tomorrow.
Oh, yes.
Was there anything else you wanted to say?
I think that the only thing is I'm sure people already know that the hearings are coming up tomorrow and Thursday.
Tomorrow. I'll be on a plane, but I'll be taping it.
Yeah, no, I'm pretty sure they're going to be really meaningful because of where the planets are in relationship to Trump. These hearings are all about taking Trump down. Don't be confused about what's happening.
I love it.
That's the central topic, and it's just building in clarity, in total clarity against the guy. So,
right. It seems to be working better than the impeachment thing.
Yeah.
The thing is, a lot of those guys who are now testifying truthfully were the ones working for Trump and spun it to where you can't do that. You can't impeach him.
Yeah, well, of course, yeah, because Cipollone was and the other guy, Hirschman, it's just that Cipollone and Hirschman will only go so far. They're happy to do political law, as long as it's a little bit gray, like that Ukraine thing, you couldn't really prove anything. This is different. This is sedition. This is not cool.
This is huge.
Yeah, it's too much.
But
of a
I
problem.
do feel that the Cipollone likes that girl. He's not going to let her know.
No.
But I feel like, because really what she did is she made him look like he was trying to work on behalf of the United States.
Yeah, no, for sure.
He said he was doing, saying, we can't let this, we can't do that. He was right in the middle. And what did Jared Kushner call it? Whining.
Well, that tells you everything you need to know, right? So in other words, okay, I see. So he's whining about the fact that you guys want to break the law. That's whining? So
That's
like
whining.
what? You just want to break the law with impunity, like so no one can say anything to me for breaking the law. Jared Kushner is the same. He's another lackey, Eventually, all these people, in that video, by the way, they show him talking about how great Trump is and how his father this, blah, blah, blah. And I remember saying when I watched it, yeah, sure, your father was put in prison for I think he was trying to defame someone with a porn video. It was a crazy thing.
Oh, he was hurting his own brother's wife. He tried to hurt. Yeah.
And Chris
He
Christie
set
put
up
him in
some
prison.
fake thing. Yeah.
That's how Chris Christie lost Trump's favor, because Jared didn't want him in there because Chris Christie put his father in the slammer for doing.
Well, he said it was terrible what this guy did.
Who said that?
Chris
Jared?
Christie said it on a program.
Yeah, right, exactly.
It was terrible.
So
I had no choice. The guy was a putz.
that's the thing. I mean, there are people that you still wouldn't vote for them, because why would you vote for Chris Christie? But Chris Christie only goes so far. He has a line, right? Trump has no lines. Trump is just like out of bounds,
Oh, real quick before we close. So Rudy Giuliani's been in the hospital. He has heart issues.
He's got he could Giuliani's chart for the next 2-3 years, he could die. It's not good. There's a lot of planetary pressure. The older you are, if on top of it you're abusing, because he's an abuser, he keeps drinking, and he keeps saying that he's not drinking, right? But remember that thing that they showed where they were asking different people and they said, well, who was was anyone consuming alcohol? Rudy. They all said the same thing. Rudy was the one. Oh, did he talk to the president? Yeah, he talked to the president. So, and he denied it, but he drinks a lot. Not good. Not good
Not
in the
good.
context, especially when you've got, in his case, all his planets are clustered in one spot, and they're getting a lot of pressure, which is what's happening. He lost
Right.
his license.
Well, Trump wrote on that Truth Social, said, yeah, Rudy's in the hospital with his heart because the Democrats have caused nothing, you know.
Yeah, I know. It's a Democrat's fault. I know. It's like, I know. Let's play a violin. It's like Tucker Carlson, according to him, these young men that are shooting up little kids is because women give them a hard time. I love that. I love that argument. Right now, it's women's fault on that too. I
Oh
thought
my
these were
God.
macho men. Like, how do we play this? Which is it? Are you masculine or not? I mean, come on. It's unbelievable. He does this on prime time. You know,
Yeah.
incredible.
Well, my friend, it was one. Do me a favor, send me that link for the camera.
Oh yes, I will do that. All right.
Great.
That
Bye,
was
you
great.
guys.
Bye, everybody.
Back. I gotta be on your show too.
Yeah, sure. For sure. Let's do it soon.
Okay.